This is incredible. A concerning story, Simon, has revealed that a Premier League footballer and their family member were allegedly threatened with a gun in the street during a row with a football agent. The player's in his 20s. He's established himself now as a first-team regular. He was targeted in Barnet in North London. Now, the Telegraph report that the row escalated after the player chose not to use the agent's services. And police, we understand, were called to the scene shortly after 11 p.m. on Saturday, September the 6th. Nobody was injured, but the agent, who's 31 years of age, can't be named for legal reasons, was arrested at his home later. Simon, I mean, huge riches now on offer in the game. Should we be surprised that the industry might be susceptible to potential criminal activity?
No. I mean, you're talking to the head of the choir that has nothing but contempt for the agency side of the industry. There were good agents, of course there are.
Does this shock you?
No, not particularly. I've heard plenty of instances of agents that behave poorly, both behind the veneer of looking after their clients, when they've sat in my office and told me that if I give them more money, they'll get less for their player, all the way through to circumstances where players have been on the receiving end of an agent's ira. Obviously, to this level, no one would expect. But, the game they're not beyond regulation. They do have some degree of governance, but ever since the game became explosive with the finances, it almost is ironic that the ridiculousness of deregulating agents to some extent and allowing them to operate in all manner of ways, whether it's representing the player, the club, and the buying club, the selling club, and everybody else in between, and allowing them to represent people on all levels rather than just being one person fixed to one set of responsibilities. This is the extreme end of the equation. The players themselves have got to take some responsibility for who they decide to associate themselves with. I would have imagined it was this. But if you're, I don't hang around with people that have a propensity to pull out guns. I don't hang around with people that have a propensity to be criminal in their activities. So whilst a young player, and most of the time young players will get agents because someone else in the dressing room has the same agent. So you have to look at the selection process about who you want to represent you and how you want to have those sort of relationships.
It's really random, isn't it?
Yeah, and why you're out with your agent at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. I don't know. There's the whole culture of agents becoming bag carriers and fixers, and that do things for players in and outside of their private lives is always a thing that I find a little bit unpalatable. And the agents are always in between the wall and the wallpaper, creating outcomes for themselves. The
problem is, Simon, all sorts of people can get involved in the football industry, can't they? All sorts of people can be agents. All sorts of people can be owners.
Well, not really, no. Because first of all, there's governance around what kind of owner you can be, because you have to go through the owner's fit and proper persons tests, which establishes where your money comes from, what kind of person you are. So you can't just walk in the door and do as you please.
Yeah, but we've seen plenty of owners who have come into the game, though, Simon, possibly, no names, no pack drill, on the wrong side of criminality.
Such as whom?
Well, I'm not about to name some. Well, with a shady past, shall we say?
Well, I'm not so sure that's right. I mean, we've seen owners
not sure where the money's come from.
Well, that's down to governance, and the governance. Everyone's clear now where the money comes from. For the last 5, 6, 7 years, the ability to buy a football club has been really tightened up in terms of the source and origin of the funds that you use to buy it. What's happened is that owners have run out of money. As I've said previously, most of the time football clubs don't go bust, owners do. So the reality of it is that it doesn't make them a bad owner because they've run out of money. In this instance, agents are still have an obligation to go through certain tests and requirements to meet the obligations or the standards that require, or the knowledge to understand the industry. So it has tightened up a little bit. But the governance around agents, I have always said that if you want to look at corruption in sports, then don't look much further than the agent fraternity for the genesis of it. And then you'll get this silly riposte, owners. Right, so I'm going to steal my own money. Yeah, that makes sense. The reality of it is that there are bad people in every industry, and where there's huge wealth, it's like where I live in Spain, in Marbella. It's become so wealthy. All the bloody criminals have come into there now because they can see the opportunity where the wealth is.
Yeah.
They'll, like London, you go around London, there's 81,000 phones being nicked and people getting, robbed, and, people saying don't wear nice watches in London because there's money in London. So in football, it's like the terrible situation surrounding footballers and being away from home.
Yeah.
And being targeted by criminal gangs. This is worst case scenario because these people are inside the industry.
Well, that's right.
So you have to look at the player and say,
yeah,
well, be careful who you decide you wanted to have an association with, and why you wanted to have that association, what kind of person they were.
Incidentally, did you ever get that nice watch back?
No.
No?
No.
Gone for good?
No, I can't blame that on a football agent, unfortunately.
No, that's true. That's true.